This episode of Art is the Healer is supported by Arts MB, the Beaverbrook Art Gallery, and the Sheila Hugh McKay Foundation. Hi, this is Deanna Musgrave for Art is the Healer, and today I'm going to be talking about my watermarking process, which I've been doing for quite a few years now. I came to it naturally, very attracted to this idea of water having memory. I came at it through ideas of Dr. Emoto, who did a lot of experiments with freezing water crystals with words and the intentions of the words, creating certain types of crystals. Also interested in the research of Luc Montagnier. There's a whole documentary on YouTube about water memory that I can put a link to in the comments that gets at these ideas that water can hold the memory of substances that once contained. And this is sort of evolved from homeopathy. So the way I use it in my artwork is I find objects that for me have significant meaning and I lay them on the canvas. I use water and pigment, and it's sort of an energetic alchemy. And it creates an imprint on the canvas, which is my underpainting, and then I develop the painting from there. In my opinion, from my experience, I feel that there's an energetic transmutation happening through this process where something that's contained within the object through the conduit of water is placed onto the canvas. So I started using this as a healing process, asking people to give me objects that maybe had significant meaning to them, that they wanted to amplify the energy of it, or they wanted to release something. We often put a lot of baggage onto objects, especially if it's someone that has passed on or represents a relationship that has ended. So I often ask for objects like that. And in a sense, I'm asking to take on the energetic charge of that, to transmute it through the painting process, to then assist the person who donates the object to maybe move on from that. So how does this relate to my apocalypse painting, Transcendence in Process? Well, at the beginning of this year, as a sort of New Year's resolution movement, there was an article in the paper, and I asked for donations of things that people wanted to let go of or amplify as we move into this decade. So I received a lot of really wonderful objects. Each one has a story, and I'm hoping throughout the year to really feature different objects and tell the story behind them, because you could write a whole book about this stuff, and it often gets overlooked in my paintings that this is a lot of the subject matter. So one of the objects of significance is a ring that was donated by Shannon Webb Campbell that belonged to her mother, who passed away within this past year. And I'm very grateful to her for trusting me with such a powerful object. And the next episode is all going to be about the ring, and will be an interview with Shannon about her experience with this watermarking process, as well as telling us a little bit about her mother and her work. In this video, I also want to talk about how this theory for me relates to my interest in heritage buildings. I'm very open about how precious I think built heritage is on my Facebook. And I think I come at it from a very unusual perspective. In my opinion, these objects, they hold the memory in the quantum particles of the materials. And that might be through the water and the moisture, or that might be in the quantum particles. So like behind me is this marble slate that goes with this antique radiator that was in the Anglin House in St. John originally, and is now in my home. And you know, when I put my hand along this marble, I really get an image of this little girl putting her finger along that marble, that cool marble, and just repeatedly doing that and getting a joy of that. Whether that memory is trapped within the marble or not, well, we don't really have the way to measure that. But it kind of comes to my philosophy that all the wonderful things that happen in a building are trapped in the materials. And I think that certain materials I think that certain materials hold on to that charge, that energetic memory, more than others. I think wood is a good conduit because, for one thing, it has a little moisture, has a little water in it. Marble. It's not that things like plastic can't hold those charges, it's just I think it takes longer for the imprint to happen. I think when we carelessly destroy a heritage building, we're getting rid of this energy that's there, that has an energetic charge, and eventually we'll figure out how to utilize. You could say from a qualitative perspective that these buildings have a energetic charge, that they qualitatively have story to them, and that has economic value that aids in tourism. And I agree with that, but I also think there's something to do with energy. So I was devastated when we lost the Gothic arches at the beginning of this year. That was really an apocalypse for me. I was devastated when we lost the Anglin House. And my ideal is that these buildings get saved, but even if they are, in the terrible cases when they are deconstructed or destroyed, I really think it's important to hold on to the pieces. I don't think they have as much of a powerful energetic charge when they're separate, but I still think there's something there, and it has to do with the energy of the location. So for me, I really take on these pieces from these heritage buildings. I try to keep them in my home because I live in St. John and I want this energy to stay here. Anyway, that gets back to my paintings, because my paintings really are a document of this sort of energy and the memory and the wisdom that comes in these objects. Sometimes I use pieces from heritage buildings, just little pieces that probably someone would throw away, but I use the imprint to get a mark for my paintings. And again, this is relevant to Transcendence in Process, the Apocalypse painting I'm working on for the Beaverbrook Art Gallery, because the whole painting started with a watermark. And it started with a watermark of people's objects, of things they wanted to release in 2020, so they could walk into 2020 unencumbered with the energy attached to those objects, or knowing that the thing that they wanted to remember or amplify would be held in that painting. So I invite you to watch the next episode, which will be an interview with Shannon Webb Campbell, and she will discuss her mother's ring, which she kindly donated to this process. While we're in this sort of apocalyptic time, maybe take a moment to be mindful. Find a heritage building, or maybe even a heritage tree. Take the time to be mindful with it and touch it. Really become still in your head, and maybe allow images to come into your mind. And maybe share your experience in the comments. And also share what heritage buildings really mean something to you, or trees, or like landmarks. And how do you experience the energy of these transformational icons?
Like and subscribe at Art is the Healer, and check out my artwork at deannamusgrave.com.